Hello friends, I welcome you all to the Dark Web Association YouTube channel. Now that we are happy with the way the code looks, we're ready to add more features to the program. One very important aspect the program is currently lacking is checking if the user is actually inputting all the required arguments. As we know, the program will not work if the user does not input an interface or a new MAC address. For example, if someone goes to the terminal and runs the program by saying MacChanger ETH0 without providing a MAC address, Python will simply throw an error. While this is useful for us as programmers, it's not user-friendly. Instead, we want to display a meaningful error message to the user, telling them, "You forgot to provide a MAC address. Please make sure you input a MAC address." To achieve this, we need to implement some decision-making in our program. Specifically, we need a way to check and ensure that the user has entered a value for both the interface and the MAC address. To do this, we will use an if statement. In this lecture, we'll introduce what if statements are, what decision-making entails, and in the next lecture, we'll implement this in our program. When we talk about decision-making or if statements, we are referring to executing code only if a specific condition is true. For example, we'll first check if the user entered a value for a MAC address and only then print an error message if they didn't. Essentially, we're executing code based on a condition. There are many ways to create conditions. You can check if a variable is equal to something. Check if one value is greater than or smaller than another. Check if a variable exists in a list. Verify if something is true or false, and so on. As we progress through the course, we'll use various conditional statements. All of this will become clear to you as we proceed. For now, I want to give you a general idea of decision-making and introduce some basic examples of if statements. As we move forward, we'll use these statements extensively, and everything will make more sense by the end of the course. A quick comparison of if statements. Let's start by comparing three common ways of writing if statements. Basic example of an if statement. On the left, we have the simplest example of an if statement. Here's how it works: we write if condition. A condition can be many things, as we'll explore later. For now, think of it as a logical test. If the condition is true, a block of code will execute. We can also add an else block, which contains code that will execute if the condition is false. So, when you run a Python program, it first checks the condition. If the condition is true, it executes the code in the if block. If the condition is false, it executes the code in the else block. After finishing either block, the program continues executing the rest of the code line by line. Multiple conditions. In the second example, we handle multiple conditions. If condition 1 is true, the program executes the code in condition 1's block and skips everything else. If condition 1 is false, it checks if condition 2 is true. If so, it executes the corresponding block. You can keep adding more conditions, and finally, an else block to handle cases where all conditions are false. To summarize, the program checks condition 1 first. If it's true, it executes that block and skips the rest. If condition 1 is false, it checks condition 2. If condition 2 is true, it executes that block and skips the others. If none of the conditions are true, it executes the else block. Separate if statements. Finally, let's compare this to using separate if statements. Here, each if statement is independent. Python checks condition 1, and if it's true, it executes the code in condition 1's block. Even if condition 1 is true, Python will still check condition 2 and execute its block if condition 2 is true. This is different from the previous example where only one block of code, from the if, elif, or else, is executed. Here, multiple blocks can run because these are independent if statements. You can also add else or elif to these separate statements, but keep in mind that they are evaluated individually. I wanted to provide these three examples side by side because people often confuse them. Understanding the difference is crucial, and I hope this explanation clarifies it. That's all for now. I didn't want to make this too long, but I hope this gives you a solid foundation for understanding if statements. In the next lecture, We'll implement one of these examples in our program and discuss why it makes the most sense for our use case. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to stay updated with new content like this. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with your friends. Thank you very much for watching the video till the end and for your valuable time.